We're at Florida Supercon at the Broward County Convention Center in Fort Lauderdale. Lovely South Florida. See some outstanding artwork here. This is amazing. And for wrestling fans, how could you beat Jake the Snake Roberts? Really cool stuff. And you know what? The man that does this, wait a second. Ricky the Dragon Steamboat up here. Nice.
Yeah, and for those that love current stuff, we got some Sami Zayn versus Kevin Owens.
We gotta get that Canadian flavor in right here, especially with the artist that we're dealing with too, who's right here. It's Andy Belanger. Yes. Andy, let's talk a little wrestling first, because not only are you a tremendous artist, but also you're a professional wrestler. So tell us about your wrestling.
Yeah, I wrestle out of the IWS promotion in Montreal. I'm also part of the IWS Dojo, which is a training facility that's run by Manny J. Doe and Shane Hawk. And Shane Hawk's my trainer, and yeah, those guys got me into it. I started going to matches for Battle War and IWS in Montreal, got me really interested in wrestling as a fan again as soon as I moved to Montreal. And I started doing posters for them, t-shirts, that kind of stuff, and Shane Hawk thought it'd be really cool if I came to the dojo, tried it out a little bit, and I think it was my first match and I was hooked. So I started training pretty hard a couple times a week, and started having my first professional matches like I think 2 years ago now.
Canada has such a rich history for professional wrestling. And who are some of the guys that you've worked with and become friends with?
Well, I mean, the guys that I work with in Montreal, like Green Phantom is my tag team partner. He's like a big local favorite up there. Shane Magic's up there. Team Tabernacle up there. There's some really hardcore lumberjack tag team dudes. They're amazing. Player Uno's up there. There's just a ton of guys that are, you know, sort of like local guys that are, you know, wrestling all over the place, and I'm really lucky to be working with them. It's really cool.
Some of the guys that you mentioned Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn,
yep.
They come from the same place that you came from.
So Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn both wrestled for IWS. My trainer, Shane Hawk, was trained by Sami Zayn. And yeah, that's where those guys are from. So if you get the new Kevin Owens DVD, there's actually footage from IWS on it, and interviews with a wrestler that we have there that's also a commentator named Beef Wellington. And yeah, it's really, really cool. It's really cool. So yeah, it's really neat. I got offered sort of like a gig with Boom Studios, who owns a license for WWE Comic Books, and my editor thought it'd be really cool if I came in and did short stories. I started off with a cover of The Shield, specifically Seth Rollins, so that cover was like really, really good. So they're like, all right, you know, if you have ideas for comics, like send them over. And my first one was for the WrestleMania issue, and I did the sort of like the feud of Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn from the time they were kids. So it's like them young kids playing with wrestlers and Raw and watching SmackDown, to them going into high school, into the Indies, and then, you know, into WWE.
That's awesome, because right, WWE got involved with comics, and right here we have Andy Belanger is one of the premier comic book artists for WWE Comics.
Yeah, I'm one of the guys that does a lot of the stuff for it. As well as that, I do Southern Cross for Image, I do Vampirella for Dynamite, but yeah, I love drawing wrestling comics. It's so much fun. I have a big wrestling project I want to do in the future, a book I'm writing that's going to be really cool. I have a biography, a wrestling biography I want to do pretty soon. So I have a lot of wrestling and comic stuff in the works right now. It's going to be a lot of fun.
It's amazing, because I was talking to Michael Kingston, who does Headlocked, the comic book series, and Jerry Lawler does artwork for him. And Jerry Lawler's a really good artist, amazing artist. But there are so many other wrestlers that are either artists or also write stories in the comic books and all. They have that real, they're a fan of these comic books and of arts and things like that that have to do with comics.
Yeah, well, I think there's a big connection, you know, now that I'm wrestling as well as, you know, the comic book thing, there's a direct correlation between the construction of both things. And really, I don't find it all that different working comics as opposed to wrestling. Kind of has a lot of the same structure about approaching it. Besides, wrestling's a lot more physical.
Have you seen Jerry Lawler's work?
Yes, I saw it recently, and I was on a panel yesterday with Michael Kingston and Blue Pants.
Leva Bates.
And of course, the King Jerry Lawler, Alice Chamberlain was there, and Ed McGuinness, who was like one of my all-time favorite comic artists. And because the Hulk is my favorite comic. And I finally got to meet Ed McGuinness, who is, like, I think the best Hulk artist maybe ever. He's so good. So that was like a real treat for me to be on a panel with those guys and to hear Jerry Lawler tell me stories about Bruiser Brody and Andy Kaufman. That was like a real treat. And it was really cool because he went through my art and stuff like that. And it was like a real cool moment to have like at Florida Supercon. It was really cool. Yeah, I got to meet two of my idols like in one panel. And then after, I went and wrestled in one of their matches. I had a little spot, and I was getting beat up by Bane to save Rey from Star Wars. And of course, she used the Force on him, and then I gave him some of that RKO action. Yeah, it was pretty sweet.
That was for Fantasy Super Cosplay Wrestling, which is a great idea, mixing the cosplay with the pro wrestling and all.
Yeah, Alex and Steve have got this like really cool thing they're doing, and Skeletor wrestling might be the coolest thing I've ever seen. Like Skeletor was like maybe my favorite character when I was a kid. So when he came out in the outfit, it's amazing.
Social media for ya.
Oh, if you look up at Andy Belanger on Instagram or at Andy Belanger on Twitter, you find me anywhere. You can Google me and you'll find everything.